Tansei, I'm Chris Anachkate. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime on this Tuesday. The Ochapowace First Nation in southern Saskatchewan is imposing a new temporary emergency dog control bylaw. The decision comes after a 12-year-old boy was found deceased in the snow. RCMP are still unable to say if the death was related to a dog attack or wild animal. On Saturday, December 20th at around 5 p.m., Saskatchewan RCMP said a 12-year-old boy left a home in the Ochapowace First Nation with the intention of walking to another home in the area. At 8 p.m., the boy's body was found several hundred meters from home. RCMP deemed the boy's death as non-suspicious, but the cause of death has yet to be determined pending autopsy results. RCMP urged residents to not seek vigilante action against other dogs in the community. As of Monday, Ochapowace leadership ordered all residents with dogs to keep them from roaming around the community. Any dogs caught and not claimed within 24 hours will be considered surrendered. Ochapowace says the decision is immediate and will be replaced by a permanent bylaw. The Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation in northeastern Saskatchewan is asking for the public's help in finding a man who has been missing for nearly a month, and due to the cold weather, his family is concerned for his safety. According to the Peter Ballantyne leadership, 66-year-old Moise Siwap was last seen in Flin Flon, Manitoba on December 9th. Creighton RCMP says Siwap may have also been seen between December 15th and December 23rd in Flin Flon. During that time, he was wearing a blue and black checkered jacket and was last seen getting into a silver Ford Escape with a woman outside a large retail store along Highway 10. The Saskatchewan First Nations Emergency Management Search and Rescue Team is expected to assist in the coming days. Residents in Creighton and Flin Flon are asked to check sheds, outbuildings, and other structures for Siwap. If anyone knows where Moise Siwap is, please contact RCMP. A First Nation in northwestern Alberta is suing the Alberta government in response to the province's upcoming separation referendum, saying that it violates Treaty Number 8. The Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation filed the lawsuit in Court of King's Bench in Edmonton on Monday. The suit claims the Alberta government, the Chief Electoral Officer, and the Attorney General of Canada all breached their legal and treaty obligations, and that First Nation consent must come first before consultation on referendum talks can go ahead. The lawsuit also alleges the province's Alberta Prosperity Project courted foreign interference by the U.S. and that Alberta conspired with separatists to create conditions for an unlawful petition. The Alberta government would not comment on the matter because it is now before the court. The First Nation plans to file an injunction this week to pause the petition process. The lawsuit has yet to be tested in court. The power for the Pimicikamak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba has been restored. However, officials say they are not out of the woods yet. The Cree Nation's chief says they are now in the middle of major repairs for many homes after pipes froze and burst due to the power outage. APTN's Julia Ross reports.
After a power line serving Pimicikamak in Manitoba snapped, the community was left without power for 4 days in temperatures below -20. This Wednesday, Premier of Manitoba Wab Kinew, as well as other provincial, federal, and other First Nation leaders will be visiting the community. Pimicikamak councillor Shirley Robinson has been evacuated in Winnipeg for 8 days so far during the holiday season.
We're just starting our Christmas holiday. Everybody was, all our staff, and it totally disrupted our entire Christmas and New Year holiday. We didn't even get to celebrate New Year in our community as we always do.
She says more than 4,000 members were evacuated as of yesterday. They are now staying in Thompson, Winnipeg, Norway House, The Paw, and Flin Flon.
Last night we welcomed another 2 busloads of people from the community because of what is happening back home with our water systems and our water treatment plants and the pipes.
Robinson says that the water damage has been severe in the community, caused by exploding pipes and water tanks freezing.
Other tanks frozen, sewer tanks frozen, and sewer coming up in bathtubs, cracked toilet bowls, you name it, and the flooring, like with the exploding pipes, then it destroys the entire floor of a home. And some were submerged 3 feet in water.
With no timeline for when community members can go home, Robinson says that she is thankful for the way community members joined together.
It was our people that mobilized so quickly to help one another, even if they had to put on 3 layers of clothing to be able to do what was required of them. And I just admire the love in our community.
Robinson says that the community is calling for any support and assistance that they can get. She also says that the donations and support the community has been receiving so far and help from Red Cross has been helping community members from infants to elders. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, Julia. We now want to tell you about this week's new web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, would you be prepared if your electricity went out for multiple days? You can answer AHA for yes or Namoya for no. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. This last year's news in the Atlantic region included UNDRIP at the United Nations, protecting the lands from resource extraction, banning a premier, and Comic-Con in a Mi'kmaq nation. APTN video journalist Angel Moore takes a look back at the year that was in 2025.
At the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues in New York City, Indigenous people from around the world gather to discuss the challenges of implementing UNDRIP and the responsibilities of member states, including the Quebec-Labrador AFN Regional Chief.
We're always, as First Nation, participate in a good way, in good faith in this relationship with Quebec and Canada, but it's not always the case.
In Labrador, a roadblock was set up by Innu community members, which prevented workers from entering the site to conduct a geological assessment on behalf of Quebec Hydro for a proposed hydroelectric project. Jerome Jack Achish is from the Sheheshit Innu Nation. He was at Gull Island, where the Innu of Sheheshit and Natwashish gather every year in September to return to the land. The roadblock was about 2 kilometers away. He said community members are protecting the Innu lands.
Because we don't need the companies need us. Because this is Innu land, we're proud of it, I'm going to protect it. I'll protect it. Hopefully when I'm passed and gone, there's going to be more Innu people protecting our land as well.
Last August in New Brunswick, about 200 people gathered in the Elsipogtog Mi'kmaq Nation. They attended the first Comic-Con to be held in a Mi'kmaq Nation. Adam Beach was one of the guest celebrities. Fans lined up to take photos and get his autograph. Beach hoped ElsiCon inspires young Indigenous filmmakers to defy stereotypes.
Growing up, I've wanted to see superheroes. I wanted to be in comic books. And there are Native heroes, but I've wanted something more than that. I wanted to include the Indigenous history, the language.
Last fall in Nova Scotia, Mi'kmaq land protectors seized the wood from 3 logging trucks. They wanted clear-cutting to stop on Hunter's Mountain and said it's destroying the moose habitat, water flow, and traditional medicines. They set up a camp with a checkpoint to protect the forest this past September. Weeks later, the Nova Scotia provincial government passed Bill 127 that makes it illegal to block or impede access to forest roads. But that did not deter the Mi'kmaq.
I won't quit, Tim Houston. I won't quit. My people won't quit. We're not going anywheres. Nsidnogama.
A month later, the province announced a crackdown on on-reserve cannabis shops. As a result, Sabaganagati First Nation banned Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston and 2 ministers from their community. And shortly afterwards, Chief Michelle Glasgow and Council announced it is time to start an Aboriginal title claim.
You may think it's going to be easy, but you ain't met us. You ain't met Mi'kmaq when we're fighting for something we believe in.
Houston defended the cannabis crackdown at a press conference, calling it a health safety issue.
I've talked to people in law enforcement have told me in this province that they've taken illegal cannabis from unregulated illegal dispensaries and tested it and found that it was laced with traces of fentanyl. So, you know, sometimes I hear, I don't buy from the government supply because I don't get the same buzz. Well, that's probably why.
But the Nova Scotia RCMP and the Halifax Police said they are not aware of any fentanyl found in any cannabis seized from illegal storefronts in the province. Chief Tamara Young said Houston was undermining Mi'kmaq sovereignty and called for an apology.
We know that he's been constantly attacking the Mi'kmaq, and now I feel like our concerns and what we were saying, they are now validated.
That is some of the stories from 2025. Wishing everyone safe and happy holidays, and see you in the new year. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also called Halifax.
An Indigenous woman in Edmonton is providing her own taxi service for people who want to feel safe. That story after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. An Indigenous woman in Edmonton is offering an alternative driving service to help others feel safe and comfortable. CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti has more.
Hi, it's Regan with She Drives. Regan Gamble is helping Indigenous women get to their destinations safely, one call at a time with She Drives.
When I pull up somewhere and they have the smile and, you know, they get into the back seat and it's instant. It's like this instant bond.
Gamble is a residential school survivor. She says her past helped inspire her to create She Drives.
I feel all of the pain and everything inside that I had to endure and just want to turn it into purpose.
According to the Assembly of First Nations, Indigenous women make up 16% of female homicide victims. Gamble says Indigenous people often face discrimination and can feel uneasy driving with strangers.
I think it means a lot for Indigenous women because a lot of times we don't feel safe riding.
Nadine Cutarm has used She Drives twice. She's had bad experiences with Ubers and taxis and wanted an alternative option.
It just felt like I knew her. She made me feel really comfortable, and it was a really good ride.
Gamble says there's no limits of where she'll go to take people from point A to point B. She wants She Drives to be more than just a ride, but also a business you can trust when you're in trouble.
There have already been a couple of instances where a mother called and she was so distraught and her daughter was in a domestic with her boyfriend.
While some people might not want to talk during a taxi ride, Gamble wants to be an emotional support.
Every day it's such a gift, every ride, because there's something that I take from it, and there most definitely is something that they take as well.
Because sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination. Miriam Valdez-Carletti, CTV News, Edmonton.
The Montreal Museum of Fine Arts opened a newly renovated space called the fourth floor of the Claire and Marc Bourget Pavilion. It will now be dedicated to temporary exhibitions that revisit the history of Quebec and Canadian art. And the very first exhibition highlights Indigenous talent from the Great Lakes. APTN's Stephanie DeSève reports.
In terms of this futurist look, I believe it gives these four kings, these four delegates, a timeless look that reinstates them in the past as these delegates, as these very important political figures, but also in the future.
The canvases of the four kings are at the heart of the new exhibition Rising Suns, presented at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. The artists featured were chosen based on their contribution to the history of art and their impact in their local communities.
This is the first time that any museum in Quebec has been able to focus on particularly local practices. This is something that I feel is overdue, this kind of a critical and exhibitionary attention.
The exhibition offers an Indigenous interpretation of the land we live on.
J'aurais jamais cru voir mes ancêtres au musée.
Since last December, Cathy Sanourou Dumoulin-Bouche is an intern in Indigenous Arts and Design at Montreal's Museum of Fine Arts. In collaboration with the museum's curator, they have been involved in selecting works and writing texts.
In 1710, this delegation of 4 people, 3 Haudenosaunee and 1 Mohican man, were sent as delegates to the Queen, to Queen Anne, to ask for more military support and support from the British during a war between the French and the English, where different Indigenous nations were supporting different sides.
Queen Anne of Great Britain commissioned the 4 canvases back in 1710. The Mohawk artist Squawanatsi revisited the 4 historical paintings and did a massive reinterpretation.
So Squawanati, as an artist, has done a lot of work in Second Life on this platform, where she makes films or still images called machinimas or machinimagraphs, so sculpted on the computer. And then each skin texture, skin color, tattoo pattern, fabric pattern, even the fur on the animals or the ground has been rendered and chosen. So it's also technically a very, what I would consider, painstaking work to create, especially in Second Life, where there is so much customization available.
Dumoulin Bush is from Châteauguay. They are French-Canadian and Ghanaian-Geha.
Each of these portraits contain a clan animal, and the bear is my personal clan animal, and so I really wanted to have this relation with this work.
Dumoulin Bush credits her sister, who is an illustrator, to their introduction to the world of Indigenous art.
She ended up painting for me kind of this, in a metaphorical way, a Milky Way, a galaxy of stars consisting of ancestor artists, of artists that I didn't know, whose practices have very much influenced me in the last couple of years.
Filled with gratitude, the title of the exhibition resonates with Dumoulin Bush. They feel that Indigenous talents, too, are rising and shining.
I feel like this is a unique moment in history where Indigenous communities are able to be self-determinate in what happens to culture, what happens to art, what happens to cultural objects.
In April 2026, the exhibition will be subject to a rotation of works in.
I would hope to see more Indigenous artists represented in this way and kind of given the highlight and given the emphasis on their careers that might not necessarily have been given in the past. And then by extension, that recognition, that ease of access will be paved for the next generation of Indigenous artists and culture makers.
Rising Sun, art from the confederacies of the Great Lakes and Rivers, is on display at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. Stéphanie Desèvres, APTN National News, Montreal.
A college in Ottawa is teaching students about Indigenous culture through a unique workshop. That story after the break. Don't go away. On the East Coast, St. John's -4, Charlottetown -9, Nain -15, Happy Valley, Goose Bay -17, Gaspé -11, Saguenay -13, Peterborough cloudy and -5, Toronto cloudy and 1, Sudbury -6 and rain, Sioux Lookout -7, Churchill -19, Norway House -21. Winnipeg partly cloudy and -10, Barons River -16, Saskatoon -18, Regina -15, Uranium City -23, -17 in Meadow Lake, Grand Prairie -1, Fort McMurray -5, Edmonton -5, 0 in Calgary, -2 in Quesnel, Vancouver 4 in Fleuries, Dease Lake -12, Fort Nelson -20, -23 in Dawson, Old Crow -41, Norman Wells -30, Wati -29, Tuktoyaktuk -33, Inuvik -36, -27 in Chesterfield, Baker Lake -32, and Iqaluit -12, Iqaluit -16. Season 5 of the highly anticipated true crime series Taken will make its season premiere tomorrow on APTN. It will broadcast in both English on APTN and in Anishinaabe on APTN languages. The series returns after going on hiatus in 2019 and showcases the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people in Canada. Here's a preview. Taken will premiere on Wednesday, January 7th with co-creator Lisa Meaches. A total of 13 groundbreaking episodes will make up Taken's 5th season on APTN. Algonquin College in Ottawa is offering a hands-on look at traditional Indigenous knowledge through a Deerhide tanning workshop series. And as CTV's Dave Charbonneau reports, it's giving learners a rare opportunity to connect with culture and community.
In the Ishkadewan courtyard at Algonquin College, students and staff are learning an ancestral practice passed down through generations.
Today we are going to be dry scraping a deer hide.
The Mamidoswin Center, which supports Indigenous learners and offers cultural programs on campus, brings in knowledge keepers to share these traditional teachings.
Very gentle strokes.
Tammy Pazendawach Tawashi is guiding students through every step.
What I do is I tan hides, moose hides, and deer hides. But I do it the traditional way in terms of transforming it into smoke tanned leather by using 2 hands and hand tools.
The workshops show how deer and moose hides become soft, usable leather, the material behind many traditional goods.
Traditionally, this is where our moccasins come from, right? It comes from the moose, it comes from the deer. So any leather goods, if you want to make, I like to make earrings, handbags, moccasins, vests.
Student Keon Everhart says a class like this provides a connection to nature.
I feel like it's an amazing experience for me because I've never done it before, and I'm really proud to be able to show people that I've done this. I think it's amazing. It's a cultural experience for sure. I feel very connected to the nature around me, and whenever I get the chance to learn about it, I come and I participate. And it also builds a community.
One of the goals is to highlight and reflect on Indigenous culture and practices.
Land-based learning is part of our mandate at the Mamidoswin Center, and so we do try to do this type of activity or something similar at least once or twice a year.
Engagements with knowledge keepers such as Tammy Cote today is really a part of our community, and Algonquin College has made a real commitment to learning about Indigenous peoples, engaging with Indigenous peoples, and listening to Indigenous peoples.
Light pressure, because if you go too hard, you're going to break.
As for Tammy Pazendawach Tawashi, she says the workshops also ensure traditional skills are passed on to future generations.
My goal is to revitalize these teachings so more people are learning the traditional teachings of our ancestors.
Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
And that's your Tuesday daytime newscast. Savannah Kelly is back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Please join us then. From our HQ in downtown Winnipeg, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us.